teacher and a metaphysician and a spiritual guide and a student of metaphysics. And I am a very, very happy lady. I live a very miraculous life. I'm guided to so many transformational environments, much like this. I am guided to other countries. I have incredible people that I work with. And I have a real, real life far beyond my wildest dreams. Far beyond what I could have imagined would be my life 7 years ago. And so for most of my life, from adolescence until about 25 years old, I was living in a much, much different way than I am today. I was living with a mindset which is quite the opposite as to what I have transformed my mind to become today. I was living in a way where I was looking for my happiness outside of myself. I was looking for my happiness in my credentials, in my romantic relationships, in my career path. I was looking for it in a pair of shoes. I was looking for my happiness outside of myself. Can anybody relate to that in some ways? And I had a bad case of what I often call the when I have. So when I have that new boyfriend, I'll be happy. When I have that next client, I'll be happy. When I have that that, I'll be happy. And it felt like I was a hamster in a wheel, just constantly looking for this happiness that was somewhere outside of myself. And when my when I haves became I haves, I was still unhappy. And I always felt this sense of incompletion. As a young woman, I was brought up in a very transformational home. I was brought up by a yogi mother. When most of my contemporaries were being brought to the movies, I was being brought in and out of ashrams. And I was waking up to my mother's meditation and all of the incense pouring out of the meditation room and seeing her walking into the meditation space very tangled and anxiety-ridden, and walking out 15 minutes later really relaxed, calm, and serene. And so I was really gifted with this incredible spiritual blueprint that many young folks don't have the opportunity to experience at a young age, but it was really instilled in my upbringing. And by the time I was 16, I was really caught up in that when I have mentality and really frightened and quite depressed. And I joke around that I was sort of like this adolescent girl caught in an existential crisis. And I was really concerned about why I was here and what was going on and what the greater purpose was. When, again, most of my contemporaries were caring about who they were dating and the prom. Do they have a prom in England? Yes, the prom was a big deal. For me, I just wanted to know why I was on this planet at this time. So I was really confused and quite frightened. And I went to my mother and I said, listen, I know that you have a very different, non-traditional approach to depression, and I know that you're not going to necessarily throw me in the doctor's office. What can I do? And my mom said, let's meditate. And so she sat me down on a meditation pillow, and she taught me my first mantra, which was so hum. I am that, so hum. And breathing in, so, breathing out, hum. And at a young age, at 16 years old, I started my meditation practice. I started to use this mantra wherever I could. I would sit in stillness for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I desperately needed this practice because I was so disconnected and so fearful and so anxiety-ridden and so depressed that I was clinging to whatever it could take to feel better. And in my case, very early on in my practice, I started to experience a lot of transformation and a lot of miracles. About a few weeks into my practice, I remember being at my friend's house, and there was a bunch of people, young kids downstairs. They were having something, smoking pot or doing some crazy things like young kids do. And I said, I've got to get upstairs. I got to go upstairs and meditate. I'm having an anxiety attack. And so I went upstairs, and I remember sitting in this room. I don't even remember whose house I was in, but I sat in this quiet room, and I just took a deep breath in, and I was saying my mantra, breathing in, so, breathing out, hum. And in that moment, my extremities began to tingle, and I started to feel this tremendous sense of relief and calm come over me. And I felt like I was wrapped in an energy blanket of love. I just felt like I was completely held and taken care of. It was the safest I had ever felt in my life. And in that moment, I realized, wow, this meditation thing really works. I like this thing. And I continued the practice for quite some time, and I was really, really excited to know that I had this tool in my back pocket that I could turn to whenever I needed it, and that I had this deep connection. And I wasn't running back to my contemporaries saying, hey, I was meditating, my hands went numb, and I wasn't about to tell anybody this, but it felt really powerful for me, and I felt extremely connected to this. But like most adolescents, I turned my back on what my mother taught me. And I went back to that outside search very quickly. So within a few months of this practice, I said, you know what, I can find a better way. So my way or the highway, I started looking for this other way. I started going outside of myself once again. And I got very hooked in again to that outside experience being my sense of completion, my sense of salvation, my sense of self-worth. I got into a very quick spiral of one romantic relationship into the next and became very severely codependent in my romantic relationships. Started having issues around my food, my relationship to eating. Started having issues around my career, feeling like I needed to have a special career in order to feel good enough. Anybody resonate with that? I was 21 years old. I graduated from college and I started my first business, which was running a public relations business in New York City. And I was very good at pitching and selling, so it was very fast-paced in this busy world. And in New York, the nightlife scene is quite scary. Can really take you down really fast. And so for me, I was on this fast track. The business was booming, and I was running this business, and I was really losing that inner relationship and just building up this outside exterior. On the outside, it looked like I had all the necessary trappings of what it took to be a happy person, but on the inside, I was actually really quite frightened and quite sad and disconnected once again. By the time I was 25, all of those fears and all of that outside search manifested in a very uncomfortable situation. At this point, I was no longer able to find that happiness or serenity in the romantic partner, and I began looking for it in drugs and alcohol. And by the time I was 25, I was severely addicted to drugs and alcohol. And it happened very fast, and it was real low. And for me, the miracle happened when I was 25 years old, on October 2nd, 2005. I looked at my life, I sat down and said, this is not working. There has to be a better way. And I went to sleep that night asking for a miracle. I said, God, universe, whoever is out there, I need a miracle. And I woke up that next morning on October 2nd. It was the evening. I woke up in the morning. And I heard a very loud, authoritative voice say, get clean, and you will live a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I listened to that voice. And I've continued to listen to that voice ever since. I've been sober now 7 years, so I listened very clearly. Awakening my sober experience also was a big awakening spiritually. So once I found a recovering community, I started being guided to amazing spiritual places, to spiritual books. Books like Marianne Williamson's books were being handed to me. Books were falling off the shelf. The teachers were showing up. And the first lesson for everybody here tonight was that slight willingness on October 2nd, 2005, that very slight willingness of there has to be a better way. Show me what you got. I need a miracle. That slight willingness gave me everything I needed to continue forward, to awaken a transformation within, and to heal all of the root cause conditions that had got me to that nasty place in the beginning. And so what we need to do really is first and foremost recognize that there are places in our lives where we're feeling that we are not flowing, when things are not happening, miracles are not occurring. We acknowledge that this is not working. That is a miracle. That moment that we invite a presence greater than ourselves into our life to awaken that spiritual connection, that willingness will give us everything we need. But I wasn't just willing on October 2nd. I stayed willing on October 3rd, on October 4th, October 5th, and continued on, and I'm still willing today. Every day I wake up and I am continuously willing to learn more, to grow more, to be guided to new teachers, to new environments, to new opportunities to heal and learn. And as a result of that willingness, I was led to all of my greatest teachers, all of the greatest assignments that I needed to grow and create a very deep, internal, spiritual relationship.